Alright, I'm going to show you how to take apart the CV axle on this is the passenger side, it's the long one. Boot's gone, boot got tore up after I lowered the car, so I'm going to replace the boot, but I'm going to show you how to take apart the CV axle. It's pretty easy. A lot of cars is more of a pain in the ass. On these Altimas though, it's not too bad. I guess Nissan did something right with these. So let me get right into it. What you're gonna do first thing is cut off the old boot. If it's torn, you know, cracked and tore up, just cut it off. Cut off this end, cut off that end. Get you some like angle cutters or like, let's see, what did I have here? There's a pair of those. And then cut the old band off. Once you get the all the rubber cut away from it, cut the old band off of there, and it'll look kind of like that. I mean, I cleaned this up a really good bit so far, so it's not greasy as hell, but that's it right there. So I'm going to show you how to get that out of there and how to get this U-joint off of the end of the axle so that you can put the new boot on. After you've cut all that away, there's a let's see, ring in here like this. You can see it. I got the flathead screwdriver. You can kind of see it in there. Let me turn on a light and see if that helps. Yeah, this ring right there, it's got a split in it. I think the split's right here, but you're just gonna put a screwdriver in there, pry down, and you'll see it come loose like that. Once you have that end loose, you can pretty much just pull the thing right out. Alright, so it just came out of those little grooves right there and right there. Now the axle is free, right? So you can move that out of the way and pull the axle right out. Now you got the U-joint. When you do it, there's going to be tons of grease because, you know, unless all the grease is gone, but I cleaned this one out pretty good so far. Should always clean out the old grease before you put new grease in it, just because you don't want the two to react badly with one another. Once you've done that, you've got the axle out, you want to get the U-joint off. You're going to need a pair of snap ring pliers, and you're going to remove that snap ring right there. Open it up, pull it off, and then it's going to take you a little bit to pull that U-joint off of the spindle because it's on there pretty tight. But you just pull, push it back on, pull, keep pushing and pulling until you finally hold it all the way off, and that's it. The U-joint will come off, and now your shaft there's nothing in the way from sliding the new boot on. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that off, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so U-joint's off right there. That's the end of the axle where the U-joint went on. Cleaned it up real good. Look at these roller bearings here, so it's not like ball bearings that want to fall out and end up all over the damn place. It's just got 3 roller bearings in there, which is, to me, I think it's a little bit more smarter of a design, a little more user friendly. But that's it right there. So now that you got the whole thing taken apart, you can start putting the new boot back on. Also, once you get everything clean, it's a good idea to take a look inside, you know, and look at the wear. That's normal wear and tear. These axles got about 85, almost 90,000 miles on them, so that's pretty normal. That's not bad. It's not horrible. There wasn't, like, I cleaned the grease out and there wasn't a whole lot of metal shavings there. What you're seeing in there right now is like dust and sawdust because I was in here cutting some lumber the other day. So anyway, make sure you clean it out real good. Check and see if there's any splits. That's mainly what you're looking for, is like splits, major wear on one side or the other. You don't really see any inside of there. The roller bearings, I looked at those. They look pretty good. They're worn a little bit, but that's even. You know, they're not tore up. These snap rings they look good. They're all still in pretty good shape. Everything looks pretty good, looks real decent. So really all you need to do is change the CV boot and you should be good to go. And they could put these are came from the factory axles back on the car instead of trying to put on aftermarket ones. Aftermarket ones sometimes give you trouble. they don't like to balance right, and you'll get a lot of shaking and vibration sometimes. But we're gonna repair this and put it back on the car. So here's the new setup with the the boot in place, ready to go on. I just slid the boot down over there. Here's your front clamp, or your rear clamp. Put the bearing back on. They supplied a snap ring so it fits, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it instead of reusing the old snap ring. These have a groove on the axle itself that'll show you where, right there. That's where you want to put this part of the the boot once you're ready to tighten it down. Make sure it slides into place right there, and then clamp it right there. That way you don't have to worry about measuring how far it's supposed to be or anything like that. It's already done for you. So we're gonna go ahead and take the grease. It came with a grease packet. We're gonna put some grease on it, put grease underneath these roller bearings, and put grease on top of them, a little bit around them. We're gonna squirt some down in here, a little bit down in there, and then the rest of it will just squirt into the boot, around the boot, and it'll work itself in as the car drives. So now that you got that, you grease it up, go ahead and slide it back into place. Then you're gonna use this retaining ring again, put it back into place, lock it down, and then you can bring the boot over and match it up into these grooves right here. Slide it over there, and then go ahead and tighten down your the retaining rings there. Tighten down the back one first, then you'll make sure you don't have a bunch of excess air in there, like vent it, you know, from the front, and then tighten down your front ring, and you'll be good to go. I'm going to show you the grease job real quick. So we just grease those rollers, put some grease behind them, spin them around a little bit, and then push them back and grease down here like that. Grease all around it. You don't have to worry about over greasing it, because that's where the rest of it ends up, in the boot. And then what I did here is I just put a little bit of grease on those edges right there, kind of like that, a little blob right around each one of those. That way when you push it in there, it pushes some of that grease into the back, so you're not starting off dry in the back there. Alright, so I got the two married back up there and there. We got our retaining ring in there. I don't know if you can see it, if it'll focus. Barely see it right there. So that's back in place. Everything's seated in place. It's a dirty job, so make sure you got plenty of rags. But we got all the grease packed in there, and we're ready to put the two together and go ahead and tighten down the clamps. I want to make sure we clean this up a little bit. We don't want excess grease in there underneath the boot. But other than that, we're good to go. We'll go ahead and slide the boot on and clamp it down. Alright, boots installed. So, it came with these little clamps. If I can show you what they look like. The other one. Like that. So they just slide through, you know. Like that. That's how they tighten up. Or you slide them back. So what I ended up doing was just holding and pulling on this with some pliers till I got it real tight. Then bend it back over in between these tabs and hammer them down with like a brass punch. And you're good to go. So I want to show you the CV axle boots that I got. That's the part number. Those are inside boots. Those are the inside next to the transmission boots for 2012 Nissan Altima. This is what comes with: front ring, rear retaining ring, one plastic neoprene boot, grease packet, and retaining rings, snap ring. That's what it comes with. I think it was $40 for both of them at AutoZone. So yeah, if you can take some time, you're gonna pull the axle anyway, and just change the boot. And like 40 bucks, you can change both boots, rather than buying these axles new from Nissan, because they're pretty expensive from Nissan, pretty expensive pretty much anywhere. I think you can get them at AutoZone for like 80 bucks for the driver's side and like 130 for the passenger side, or something like that. You're still spending over $200. This way it's 40 bucks, like 20 bucks for snap ring pliers if you don't already have them, and that's it. So I'm doing this one now, driver's side, and that'll be it. Spend like 40 bucks instead of 250.